Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as we talk Ruben Amorim's Marcus Rashford rethink. Wayne Rooney says he should be coming back. United fans on social media were, very excited, let's just say. Tissues must have ran out last night, I tell you that. We were talking about Rashford. We'll also be talking about Vlahovic. He is the latest striker linked to Manchester United. Should we be going for 25-year-old Vlahovic over 22-year-old Delap? Also, Delap, bit of an update on him. It's going to come down to money, apparently, not Wilcox's friendship with him. Also, updates on Edison. We'll give you the latest on that. What's happening with Cunha and why he could be heading to Arsenal. We've also got some updates on Mason Greenwood and how that could benefit Manchester United and Osman. A little bit on Amorim. And of course, today we have got his press conference on the show as well. So lots to get into on the show this morning. There is a poll live. If you're watching live at the moment, let us know where you're watching from. But there's a poll, would you take Rashford back? It's 78% no at the moment. Well, this is what Wayne Rooney had to say after his very good performance for Aston Villa last night. Not Wayne Rooney, Marcus Rashford. I thought Rashford was fantastic tonight. Looked like his old self. I hope he comes back to do this at Manchester United. That's what we all want to see as Manchester United fans. Wayne Rooney's not a Man United fan, for a start. He's an Everton fan. Unless he's changed allegiance because he played for Man United. And two, he doesn't speak for all Man United fans, does he? I mean, it's just... I worry about ex-players like... Well, Rooney's a legend of Man United. And, you know, sometimes he does speak sense like some of the legends do. But you can't come out with statements like that because you're not speaking for every Man United fan. There's 80% in here that don't want him back. There's loads of people on social media that don't want him back. You can't say publicly, this is what Man United fans want on national television. And this is where mainstream media goes wrong because you pick people who just don't speak. They're not... They're living the millionaire's lifestyle. They're not engaged in the Man United fan. They don't feel the emotions that the normal Manchester United fan feels. Look, there's 5 reasons Marcus Rashford can't come back to Manchester United. And this is without opinion. There's 5 reasons. I was thinking about this morning. Reason 1, the fan base is majority don't want him back. It would be very, very toxic. Reason 2, the media would be on it every single minute of every single day. You know what it's like with an interview, with a press conference when Rashford's here. It would be 10 times worse. Reason 3, he fell out publicly with Ruben Amorim. He did an interview behind the club's back saying he wanted a fresh challenge. Ruben Amorim did 4 or 5 interviews saying he wasn't trying in training. So you've got to fix that. There's 3 big reasons there. Reason 4, he doesn't fit the system that Amorim plays. Reason 5, his wages are 315k a week. And Ineos don't want to pay that. That's 5 big reasons before I give an opinion or before you give an opinion or before people start giving death threats or falling out. I don't really think you need to give an opinion when you've got 5 big reasons like that why we can't do it. So I have an opinion, but I'd rather look forward and try to work collectively of a fan base of Manchester United and not of Marcus Rashford. Player FC needs to die at this football club. But look, the big question for me is, did he play well last night? Yes. Has he done quite well at Villa? Yes. Has Anthony done quite well at Betis? Yes. Is this what we wanted to happen? Yes. Does this enhance the value of these players? Yes. The big question for me, Wayne Rooney, and anybody else that wants him back, is are Aston Villa going to pay the £40 million for him? Mic drop. I'll leave you with that. You can't give me the answer. You know, he's that good that Aston Villa, I don't even know if they're going to take him. I just don't know. So, look, I expect this sort of reaction the morning after Rashford does well because he is a player with a huge Player FC following, and anything he does well, people literally grew up loving this player. So they desperately want it to work out. They probably want him back. They're a vocal community. But I think the vast majority of United fans don't want him back. And I think I don't want him back. Honestly, I don't want him back. If you want my opinion, I don't want him back. I don't want him back for the reasons I've already said. You shouldn't be going back. Anthony shouldn't be coming back. Scott McTominay shouldn't be coming back. None of these players should be coming back because we should be looking forward. And I don't think that they're the problem. I don't think they're the problem at all. I think the problem lies at the top of the club. But I don't want to look back. I want to look forward. And there is no way that this is good for Marcus Rashford to come back to Manchester United. Absolutely not. If he's been suffering with whatever he's been suffering with, he'll be suffering it instantly the day he comes back to Man United, because it's a toxic environment for him. So for me, it's absolutely not. And it surprises me that people look at performances at other clubs and say, oh, he's proving Amorim wrong. Maybe he should have proved Amorim wrong in training then, you know? Maybe Anthony should have proved Amorim wrong in training. I don't think Ruben Amorim walked in and went, I don't like you two. As soon as I can get rid of you, you're gone. He actually picked Rashford for the first few weeks. He gave Anthony chances. So, of course, they're going to do well at other clubs. They've got a point to prove. But leave it in the past, move forward. I can't see it happening. And ultimately, I can't see Rashford wanting to do it. I don't see why he'd want to do it. Have Betis got a buy clause on Anthony, says Liam. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't, but I don't know. Is yesterday's performance worth taking him back, says Sakil? I mean, I think you make a great point as well. Are we really going to take a player back? I saw United fans saying, put him up front, we don't need a striker. Can't play up front. Can't hold the ball up, can't press, can't link up the play. His best bits of play for Villa came yesterday when he drifted out wide and started taking people on. So he can't even play up front. I don't know. And yeah, he wouldn't be our striking solution. I'd rather have Liam Delap, to be honest. Double D says, bottom line is Amorim does not want him and it's Amorim's way or no way. Simple, really. We look to the future, not the past. Is there a 25% cut for not being in Europe, says Matthew? Probably. I think there is, yeah. And have done that one as well. Okay, let's, I'm sure we'll circle back into that, but there is quite a lot of stuff to get into this morning. So, where should we go next? I want to talk about, let's have a look on the list of stuff we've got to go through here. Let me just quickly, I'll go big, little. Okay, let me go, this is a bit of a little update. Let's go Cunha. So, very much, what I tend to do is when a story breaks and we don't know about it, you don't just leave it. You keep an eye on it and you do some research on it. So the end of last week, this big story sort of broke that Man United were in talks with Cunha and his agent was in England and Cunha will come to Manchester United even if they're in League One. You know, he loves to Man United. He wants to come to Man United. And we sort of looked at it, got excited and went, well, where does the money come from for this? Because his release clause is £62 million. Anyway, what's happened over the last few days is that we've had Romano come out and say, no, it's, those talks are not as advanced as been reported. And actually, in the last 48 hours, most of the stories around Cunha revolve around Arsenal, who were looking at him in January. So I think we might have been thrown a little bit of a rotting fish last week, where we've had a bad end to the week and we just get a story about Cunha. I don't think it's going to happen. And I think if he's got the option to go to Arsenal, he will go to Arsenal. But as I said, that would be my dream summer signing, but I think I don't see it. I really don't. Also, I want to talk about Vlahovic next. Now, Italian reports have linked us back into Vlahovic. I'm quite happy about this because, you know what? When you think about it, we sort of go Osimhen, Gyökeres, Jonathan David, Liam Delap, and you sort of get stuck around those sort of strikers. There are other options out there. I mentioned Lookman at Atalanta yesterday. There's Boniface, who's playing in the Bundesliga. There's Agate playing in the Bundesliga. And there's Vlahovic in Serie A. So I just think, let's not get tunnel visioned here. Man United probably are tunnel visioned. I've got an update on Delap for you. We are, I think, very tunnel visioned around Delap, and that's what's coming out of the football club, and we can't dispute that. But there are options out there, and I think that when you look at what's going on with Vlahovic, 25 years of age, available for around 40 million quid, never played in the Premier League, but an interesting proposition. Would I take Vlahovic over Liam Delap? I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm not saying he's the solution, but what I'm saying is if we want a striker who is more proven than Liam Delap, who, let's be honest, has got 1 year in the Premier League, there are plenty of options out there. And I think Manchester United would do well to exhaust those options. There has to be. I mean, look, we were talking about Patrick Schick yesterday. There are options. Some of them might be a little bit too old. Some of them might be a bit too expensive. You might look at the personalities of some of these players and say they're not the right fit. But there are a lot of strikers out there. I mean, if it was me and I wanted to go for a younger striker, I'd be breaking the bank for Agate. You look at what Mamouche has done at Man City. Well, Agate is from the same club. That's the sort of player we should be looking at if we're looking at somebody a little bit younger. But again, that's going to come down to money, isn't it? So look, my point is, are we about to sign Vlahovic? Probably not, but we mustn't forget that there are lots of options out there for Manchester United. Now, the interesting thing about Liam Delap is that he is with the Stella Group, who famously had Gareth Bale all those years ago, and I think they actually have people like Mamouche. They've got a few Man City players. So look, let's not forget that just because Liam Delap is playing for Ipswich, he's represented by a very high-profile agency, and therefore, what we're hearing is that we're hearing things like he wants European football, and that's why Chelsea might be a preferred option. But ultimately, there's a lot of money floating around on this deal as well. So even if United are going to pay £30 million release clause to Ipswich, the sort of money that's being touted around agent fees and wages is big already. And that's something that you can't really criticise Delap or his agent for, because there's a lot of interest. I mean, West Ham like him. Everton like him. These clubs have got money as well. Like, the stupid thing is, you can't just walk in as Man United and go, ooh, we'll give you 100 grand a week. Like, these clubs like West Ham will give him 150 grand a week. Like, they will give him big money. Certainly Chelsea will give him big money as well. So just be wary of the hidden costs around Liam Delap. Even if we get him, the money that's going to be hidden behind the release clause will be big. There'll be big wages again. There'll be big agent fees again. And there'll probably be, significant amounts of money, at least 50% of 30 million on top of that in fees and wages. So it's going to be expensive because there's a lot of competition for him. What we're hearing is that Wilcox is convinced he's going to get him, because he had him at the Man City Youth Academy, which is where Liam Delap's from. He's convinced he's going to get this deal done. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And let's not forget, Ruben Amorim had Kenda at Sporting, gave him his debut, brought him through, and he still chose Chelsea. So Wilcox, let's see if he is right, because just because you know a player doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen. And as we know with Kenda, a lot of that came down to the deal being better than the one that Man United were offering. Money talks. Annie says, I wish you were live more often. I sit at work counting down to 10 a.m. every day, hoping to get some good news. I think we need a little bit of a break from each other, Annie. And everybody else. We're live a lot. We're back live at lunchtime with the press conference, 7 o'clock tonight. We need a striker who isn't just proven, but will command respect and lead from the front. We need someone to demand the ball and stop the selfishness, says Matthew. I think just before we move on to another story, you're absolutely correct. The big attraction to me with Victor Osimhen or Gyökeres, and there is an update on Osimhen. I mean, it's a news show, so we can give it. Romano basically saying Osimhen's going to leave Galatasaray. I think we all know that, but it's not that Osimhen's not enjoyed his time in Turkey. It's the fact that they can't afford the release clause that Napoli are going to want to activate this summer, which is around 60 million quid. But the thing about Liam Delap and Rasmus Højlund, and even Xerxes to a certain extent, is they're all pretty young, really. They're all forging their careers at Man United. I mean, Liam Delap's not there yet. And look, how old is Xerxes? I think Xerxes 23, isn't he? And people go, oh, he's not young anymore. But look, he's 23. He's 24 next month. But he's still coming into a league he doesn't know. He's still under scrutiny at a football club. He's never known scrutiny like that before. And he can't play up front for Man United and say, Bruno, give me the fucking ball. You know, he can't say, Garnacho, you twat, put the cross in the box, you bloody idiot. If you don't do it again, I'm going to come over there and make you look a twat. We haven't got a striker who can do that. And that, I think, is what we're talking about there. in relation to what Matthew is saying. That's what I'm talking about. I think that's what a lot of people are talking about. You know, Liam Delap doesn't come in and go, Bruno, you're fucking useless. Give me the pass, you twat. You know, it's not going to happen. But it will happen with a Lewandowski. It will happen with a Harry Kane. Now, you might have a watered down version of that with Gyökeres and Osimhen, but it will happen. It can't happen with the strikers we've got. Rasmus can't do that. Whether he should do it or not, he can't do that. Maybe he tries to do that, but Bruno will go, you know, Garnacho will go, you know. We need that type of a striker, an aura. We need an aura up front who is like Ronaldo, someone like that. And we haven't, you know, we're not going to get that with Liam Delap, I don't think. And also, can I just say, I've had a few people already replying to me saying, I can't wait till Delap cooks and sits Goldbridge down. Tell me the point where I've said Liam Delap's crap. I've not said it once. Some people have online, some people have said it on the chat, but these are the lies and out of context stuff that cause issues in our community. Because at no point have I said Liam Delap is crap. I've never said it. What I've said is I don't want another Rasmus. I don't want another learner up front who doesn't have the authority or aura. And maybe he will work, and happy days, and well done United if it does, but the risks are there for me. Patrick Lynch says, the balance with the squad is very delicate right now for Amorim. Rashford coming back undermines his authority. Amorim needs backing with players he wants out as much as he does with purchases, Patrick. Look, I actually listened to something I read something that Carragher read the other day, and it was almost like he'd been watching the United stand for the last 8 months. And basically what he said is that people talk about Amorim changing his tactics, but they may as well sack him if he changes his system. You know, you get Gary Neville and others saying he needs to change his system. Well, you may as well sack Amorim if he changes his system, because he's used this system from the day he started coaching. So if you get him to change the system, you may as well sack him, because, you know, he's not doing what he wants to do. Secondary to that as well, he is also the guy who didn't want this job until the summer. He wanted a pre-season. He wanted a transfer. He's not doing as well as he should be doing, Amorim. I would acknowledge that. I would sit here and say Amorim is doing terrible as Man United manager and he should be doing a bit better than he is. But ultimately, he can't change the system he was brought in to play, and it's his system. And two, he didn't want this job until the summer. We can all go, he didn't want the job until the summer, but why do you think he didn't want the job until the summer? I don't think I think he didn't want the job until the summer because he knew the dangers. And lo and behold, the dangers have presented themselves. But what I would also say, going back to what Patrick Lynch said, is that if people can't work out what I've just said there, I think they're lost. I mean, you know, it's very obvious the issues at the club and who's caused them, people at the top. But also, Patrick's right. You know, Amorim's meant to be the guy in charge and he must be backed. Amorim decided to loan out Malacia, Rashford and Anthony in the January transfer window. I don't think we got rid of anybody else, did we? None of those players were, well, Dorgu replaced Malacia, didn't he, I suppose. But those players didn't get replaced. So, on the one hand, Ruben Amorim is given the authority to remove players he doesn't want here and build the future. That's a positive. You know, Mourinho wasn't necessarily given that freedom, so it's a positive that the club are letting him do it. But surely the club's going to get worse if you remove players and don't replace them. And we didn't replace Rashford or Anthony, remember. So I think there's a lot of reasons why. Look, Villa are stronger with a rejuvenated Marcus Rashford. Betis is stronger with a rejuvenated Anthony. We're weaker when we don't replace two players, whether they're performing or not. And we didn't replace them. So there is always explanations. I think Amorim's shortcomings are entirely the fault of Ineos. I completely agree with you, Rob. Robert McCormack is watching United stand in my Rashford pyjamas, says Robert. Didn't you compare Delap to an old Volkswagen, says Sock. There's nothing wrong with an old Volkswagen, Sock. I don't know whether I ever would have said the words old Volkswagen. I don't remember saying. I don't use the word Volkswagen. I use Vauxhall Astra. I don't use Volkswagen. No, I think you're wrong on that. I'll stand corrected if you're right, but I don't think I'd use the word Volkswagen. We're not a star attraction anymore, says Garfield. Players will choose another 4 to 5 clubs for us. Is that 4 to 5 or 45? I'm hurting now, says Garfield. Let's bring Mkhitaryan and Darmian and Welbeck back as well. They're doing well at Inter and Brighton, says Chuffbridge. Mate, the funny thing is, you know what? And you never get clipped for this sort of stuff, but you know, Marcus Rashford played well for Villa last night, and I actually think Emery made a mistake taking him off, and McGinn. But Rashford did well last night. But let's not pretend he scored a hat-trick or, you know, he was world class. He did well last night. He was probably Villa's best player with McGinn. But Scott McTominay at Napoli all season has been unbelievable, and they're in a title race. I don't really see many headlines from Wayne Rooney about bringing him back, and we need midfielders and number 10s more than we need a player that can't fit the system. So, you know what? Let's not forget. You know, Rashford played well last night, but what Anthony and McTominay are doing in different leagues is comparable or better. But this is what I mean. The noise that comes with certain players is a reason not to bring them back. There are other players that have gone and done really well, and no one, you know, Wayne Rooney's not saying bring them home. And this is part of the problem. The noise around certain players like Sancho and Rashford sort of makes you go, I don't want that noise anyway. So, you know, I mean, look, who's had the better season? McTominay, Anthony or Rashford since they've left? I know McTominay's been there longer, but he's been very consistent as well. Is that the McTominay that you ripped apart his whole career, says Gordon? That's not Gordon, but that's not the conversation we're having. I don't want McTominay back either. See, you jump in there with your typey fingers like a prat. I don't want McTominay back. I'm just making a point about the noise around Rashford and Sancho comparable to someone like McTominay who's gone off and done really well and probably would be a more credible story to bring back. I don't want McTominay back. I said it right at the start of the show, Gordon. I don't want to bring these people back. They went for a reason. They've gone for a reason. Leave them in the past. Don't bring them back. Even Ronaldo didn't really work out well, did it? It ended up with a Piers Morgan interview. Leave the past in the past and move on. Robert McCormack's wearing half and half here. He's got McTominay bottoms on, pyjamas, and a Rashford top. Imagine the tissue. No. Do we have the financial backing to look forward to Kiel? Probably not. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. There is more noise. Let's stay in Italy, actually. Just a little bit of a quick United stand update here. You probably won't see it in the news, but what's going on with Edison? The Atalanta midfield destroyer. Well, first of all, what's going on with Agate? I don't get it. It's a little bit like the Amorim out crew. The Agate revisionism is incredible. Like, he had a bad start because Ten Hag probably didn't want him. He wanted to keep McTominay. Ineos wanted Agate. Didn't buy him until too late. Didn't get a pre-season. Took time to adjust. Had a really good period between November and February. And since February, also had an injury. It's been a bit up and down. Was man of the match against Newcastle. But there's almost like... It's a weird thing in football. And it's not just at our football club. And it's certainly not just in our fan base. But people lock in on things. And they won't let it go. Like a dog with a bone. And the Agate attack agenda started in the international break with a reply, United fans on social media. But I don't see the issue with Agate. I have seen Fabinho at Liverpool in his first season, had a worse first season than Agate. I've seen Gravenberch at Liverpool, had a worse first season than Agate. Second season, amazing players. Agate plays in a very difficult position, in a very, very shit United side. Sometimes he's on his own, with Eriksen next to him. I think he's had a reasonable first season. Look, I look at De Ligt and Mazraoui, they're together in a 3, with people like Maguire and Yoro. I look at Agate, and a lot of the time, he's got a different partner every week. You know, it's a tough job, and I think he's done well, actually, but at least okay. And yet, there's a lot of people in our fan base sort of going, he's shit, what a waste of money, this, that. And then I just don't see it. I've watched football for over 40 years, and I don't see he's shit. I just don't see it. He might not succeed. Maybe next season it'll get worse, but I don't see this, he's been shit. I don't see it at all. I mean, as we know, a certain journalist gave him 3 out of 10, the lowest score against Newcastle. I mean, that is just... I'd be going to the doctors if I was that journalist. That's like there's something wrong with me, you know, because... What game were you watching? Eriksen and Lindelof were on the pitch, and as I said, Agate got voted man of the match by most fans. But my point about Agate is that it's just weird how people are going in on him because, and this happens a lot, why would you spend your energy on Agate when I can give you 10 other issues that are way more important that won't get solved this summer? And this is what I mean. Like, people lock in on something. Like, do you really think Ruben Amorim sat there going, I've got to get rid of Agate this summer. I've got to get rid of Agate. One, he won't be doing it. Two, he won't be able to because we've only had him a year and no one's going to pay 50 million quid for him. So it's not even on the agenda of the club, but it's one of the top agenda points for some of our fans. And it's sort of like, you're wasting energy. It's like pouring water into a sieve. It's a waste of time. Like, there are so many other issues and people get really angry and really wound up by their vicious abuse towards a player like that is completely and utterly a waste of your time. He's not going anywhere. There are so many other problems that we need to solve before that. But it is strange. I think it is strange, Paul. But look, we do need another midfielder. So what's the latest with Ederson? The latest with Ederson, I can tell you this, is that in Italy, there are a number of reports saying that Manchester United are ahead of Man City and everybody else in the race for Ederson, who is obviously Atalanta, and they will demand around 40 to 50 million pounds. And I think this is a prime example of, like, how do we do this deal then? Like, how can we be ahead of Manchester City or any other football club when those clubs have the money and we don't? And I think, you know, this is the case in point, isn't it? Realistically, whether it's Delap, whether it's Ederson, whether it's Cunha, whether it's anybody else, we can link ourselves to all these players. We can say that we're leading the race for this player and that player. But the bottom line is, we probably haven't got a pot to piss in financially, the club. The evidence was there in January. We couldn't afford Tell from Bayern Munich on loan. And I know people will say, I'm glad we didn't do that deal, but I wish we had done that deal. I can't believe that people go, madness. Ineos madness. We were right not to go for Tell. And I look at it and I go, we've only got Rasmus up front. And you're telling me we shouldn't have done that deal for Tell? Like, I'd have put bloody Terry from the Football Terrace up front. I'd have took him. Like, we needed numbers. We didn't replace Rashford. We didn't replace Anthony, and we needed a striker. I 100% would have done that deal for Tell. Yeah, you know, whatever. People go, oh well, money. I don't play Monopoly. I support Man United. I think we should have done that deal. But my point is, we don't have any. We didn't even have the money to do that. So what's changed between January and now? We haven't got any money. We haven't got any money. And whilst July the 1st is a new financial year, which means we can manipulate things, we still need to bring money in and we don't have it. So I don't know how we can be leading any race for any player. I think we can be in talks with players. I think we can be offering scenarios to players. But as we saw with Elise last year, that won't work with players that have clubs ringing them up saying, we've got the money, let's do the deal. And I think there's going to be a few clubs in early June ringing people up and going, we want to do the deal now. We've got the money now. Do you fancy coming to the Club World Cup? Chelsea, Manchester City. So if we can't get our hand in our pocket till July the 1st, I think this club's going to be putting their hand in the pocket in June. And PRFC says Damien, but I think this could be a summer transfer window where a lot happens in June and you sort of like go, what's left? We'll have to wait and see. Hi, Mark. If you had the choice, which past striker would you bring back? For me, it's Lukaku. Oh, my God. This is from the 2-Pump YT. For me, it's Lukaku. He was able to hold the ball up, turn his centre-backs, bring runners into play. I acknowledge he wasn't one of our best, but I reckon he fits the system. Hold the ball up. Mate, his first touch was in Sainsbury's car park. He was called Timberland Boots. You've got to be trolling. But I will answer the question seriously. If I could bring one striker back to Manchester United in this system, God, there's so many. Mark Hughes would be brilliant holding the ball up. Van Nistelrooy obviously would be great at it. I think that a fit Louis Zaha actually was very, very mobile as well. I don't know I mean, Wayne Rooney, obviously, Ronaldo, obviously, but out-and-out strikers, I think Van Nistelrooy would probably be the one I would go for in this system. Because you know what? Van Nistelrooy got kicked out of Man United because of the way he was talking to people like Ronaldo. You know, Sir Alex didn't like it. We need a striker like that. Van Nistelrooy just would not put up with the service issues of this football club. So I think Van Nistelrooy would be absolutely perfect. A fit Martial would be interesting, SG, but I think we need the aura. I think we need the aura, really. Patrick Lynch says, we only leave the race for players like Edison if they specifically want to come to United over other clubs. Again, I think 40 million is our upper limit, says Patrick. Well, like, you know what? We'll deviate just for a couple of seconds here. I thought about this the other day. I was thinking about Liam Delap and Man United because obviously I know that that's the player that Man United want. And I thought, you know what? We always think about what we want. Obviously, as fans, do I want this deal? Do I want that player? Will they fit at my club? We always think about it like that. I've never thought about this before. I've always dismissed it. I've always thought, you know, players will always want to come to Man United. Managers will always want to manage Man United because we're Man United. I've never really, over the years, many of you have said it's going to get to a point where players don't want to come to the club. They don't want to come to Man United. And I've never agreed with that. I've always felt that the aura of Manchester United will always be, and players are arrogant and managers are arrogant. They'll always go, well, I've seen he's failed, but I'm the guy to turn it around. And what an incentive it is, by the way, whether you're a player or a manager, the more United fail, the more status you are if you're the guy who turns it around. And that's why a lot of managers will always take this job. And also you get sold lies, don't you? I mean, Amorim's been lied to. We'll never know to what extent, but he's been lied to. There's no way he sat down as sporting manager in early November with Man United and he was told, we're going to be shit. We're going to not give you any support at all. We're going to hang you out to dry. We're going to do all these bad things behind the scenes that are going to make us really unpopular as well. What do you think? He would have been told different stuff to that, of course. So I've always felt that players will want to come to Manchester United. But I was thinking about Liam Delap specifically a few days ago. And I thought, I don't know whether I can say it publicly. Well, I'm going to now. Or maybe I forgot. I don't know. But I was thinking, you know what? If I'm Liam Delap or Edison or any Man United player, but certainly a Premier League-based player who knows the truth. Like if you're Edison playing in Italy and Man United want you, you're sort of not a Premier League player, so you might not really understand what the issues are. But if you're someone like Liam Delap, I'd look at it and go, I'm 22, I'm not the finished article, I have 2 or 3 years of development to become the player I want to be. Harry Kane will be gone by then. I could be England's striker at 25 for the next 5 years. I could be scoring 100 goals for England, not 100, you know, I could be scoring 50 goals for England. I could be winning golden boots. That's the ambition you've got to have if you're Liam Delap. So I've got to look at my next club and go, I've got to go to the place where I think I'm going to score a lot of goals, where I'm going to develop. And I'd look at Man United and I'd go, as much as it's Man United and it's the holy grail of Premier League clubs, I believe still, if I'm asking for a percentage of the chance of me doing well here, it ain't even 50-50. It's probably 70-30 against. So, yeah, you might have a great relationship with Jason Wilcox, and it might be Man United, and it might be Man United who have this amazing club and fan base, etc. But is this going to mess up my career? And I think you look at Man United now, and maybe we don't look at Man United like that now because we're Man United fans, but I look at it and I go, this is not a good move for my career. This is a risky move for my career. Of course, it could, you know, there's a chance everything starts turning around. There's loads of goal opportunities. You score loads of goals. The status of doing that at Man United puts you up ahead of doing it at Chelsea, I believe, but there's a big risk. And it's the first time I've really looked at it. I've never really thought about it, but we've got such a back catalogue. Look at Sancho's career. Look at Zaha's career years ago. Look at Rashford's career now. We've ruined so many careers at this football club. if I was a 22-year-old who wants to be England's striker at 25 and wants to be Golden Boot winner, you look at the last 7 years as a striker at Man United, from Cavani to Martial to Rasmus to Weghorst to Ronaldo, only Ronaldo's had a good season. And I don't know how he scored 18 Premier League goals that year. It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig. Simply Red says, you missed my super chat. I very much doubt I did, mate. I just go back through them. Every bit of transfer news is likely to be an Elise situation. The best players won't wait till mid-August to sort their futures out. Muyad, somebody said it about 2 months ago. It could be a long summer. Over the last 8 years, the Boozers haven't appointed badly. They should have never made Ollie manager, and they should have never bought Ten Hag. Amorim has been left with bad purchases and a long-term fix. It's Slow Sports News. I hope you're doing well, pal. I think Agate is managing a knock and isn't 100%. He's probably taken off early because he can't switch off his physical nature of play. Could be, Nate. Could be. I follow Gomez Wolves since his Flamengo debut. He starts for Brazil in front of Edison and wouldn't be much more expensive, and he's Premier League proven, says Luciano. Mazraoui says, do you think some players enjoy being the status of being at United since it's a big club, so they're just half-ass? When they leave, they're like, oh, crap, now I have to try. Yep, I think it's a great point. Great point. We were talking about this yesterday. Why is it shit players at United still don't want to leave? Money, status. Acid23 says, it's 4 years since I've banged the drum on this channel about Vlahovic or Martinez. My favourite two in Italy. I think they'd be perfect. Alan says, Rashford 89/156 centre-back returns worth keeping. Don't know what that means. United should go for players whose contracts are running up and sign a lot of free agents this summer, like Inter with Taram, Darmian, Taremi and Mickey. I don't know, Michael. I don't know. I really don't know about that. Simply Red says, how many times did Anthony get Delap's chances? Says Simply Red. Yeah, but that's not how football works. That's not how football works, is it? You know, you can't say Anthony's didn't get the chances Delap got, because that's just too simplistic. Maybe Amorim really likes Delap, and maybe he doesn't rate Anthony. He certainly had enough training sessions with him. I don't think you can ever say, well, you can do it because you've just done it, but I think you almost have to read the room and go, Amorim didn't rate Anthony. And ultimately, I don't know why people get angry about that, because you'll pay with your job in the end. If you stick with players that aren't good enough, you will play with your job in the end. I think Ollie did that. Ten Hag did that. You will pay with your job in the end. Krishna, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you. Are you looking forward to the summer window? Because I'm dreading it, says Simon. The only thing I'm looking forward to at the moment is, in relation to Manchester United, is tomorrow night. I think the summer transfer window will always be very interesting, but I think it's more hope than belief. And I also think if you're excited about the summer transfer window, a huge part of that is what the budget's going to be, which will be hugely impacted by what happens in the Europa League. So, look, I'm more than happy to discuss the stories as they come in. It's a news show on a morning show, of course, but I mentioned it in January. If we don't get into Europe, we could be staring into oblivion, and I still stand by that. Greenwood, very quickly, a couple of other things I want to just catch up on. So Greenwood, reports from France coming in that Saudi are interested in Mason Greenwood, up to about 90 million euros. So interestingly, I think that it's a lot of people getting excited going, oh, we get 50%. Right, we don't get 50%. We get 50% of the additional fee. So they paid 25 million for Greenwood. So if he went to Saudi for 90 million euros, that's about 80 million pounds. Take 25 off that. So that's what, 55, and then halve it. So we'd get around 28 million quid if he went for 90 million euros. So I don't think in a million years Marseille are getting 90 million euros for Mason Greenwood, because I don't think in a million years he's going to go to Saudi. I think he's going to go to a bigger club, which is why he went to Marseille, in Europe for about 60 million, in which case we'll get about 12 to 15. So we're not going to earn massive money out of Mason Greenwood, is what I'm saying. We might get 15 million if we're lucky. But in relation to what we were saying yesterday, if Rashford's only going for 20, as I said yesterday, Chris Wheeler was saying that Villa have yet to decide whether they want Rashford, and United would only make about 20 million profit after they've paid off a large portion of his wages. So that could be. It's mad, isn't it? We could sell Mason Greenwood could move this summer and earn almost the same as what we're going to get for Rashford, because the wages, it's the wages, isn't it? Going to the game tomorrow, says Jay. Great stuff. Would you take Lookman, Mark, says Carl? I'm interested in Lookman. It's not the profile of striker I want, but you do have to readjust sometimes. I think it's really important that we bring in a striker with authority, because over the last 5 to 6 years, we create very little. And that's a problem. That's a mentality in the team. They're not very good at creating chances for the striker. So I think if you already know that, you need to bring somebody in that's going to be vocal and experienced about that and take it personally. So I think any striker that we look in, we've got to look at the personality. It can't just be, ooh, he looks like a potentially good player. I think there has to be, a personality there that's going to come in and, be vocal. How many more years before we challenge for the title, according to Mark, says Sanska? Mate, I honestly can't put a date on it. I mean, I respect the people that do, but realistically, I think next season could be outside the top 6 and no Europe, because we won't be in the Europa League next year, which is an easier way of getting in, and we won't win the Champions League if we're in it. So I think we'll be outside the top 6 next season, no Europe, which will be a bad season. So that's one gone. These young players we've got, even if they work out, are probably 3-4 years away. Our rivals are still spending money that we don't have, buying better players than we buy. So the recipe, the trajectory for Man United is not to get better. So I'm not going to say in 5 years, and I'm not even going to say in 10 years, until I see a pathway to winning a title, I'm not predicting it. I don't see any point, actually, because I think if I was an Arsenal fan 2 years ago, I'd say I expect us to win in the league in the next 3 years, because I think Arsenal will win the league next year. If I'm a Liverpool fan last season and I didn't know Klopp was going, I'd say I expect us to win the league with this squad in the next 3 years. But I look at Newcastle and I don't think they're going to win the title in the next 3 years. I look at Villa, I don't think they're going to win the title in the next 3 years. I think you've got to be on the pathway for it to predict it. We're nowhere near. We're nowhere near. So I'm not even going to say in the next 10, because that's just a punt in the dark. That's like, hopefully things will change. Grand Theft Auto 6 before another title. Grand Theft Auto 7 before another title, mate. When we win the Europa League, do you think people will wear rose-tinted glasses going into the summer? Yes. I think it's the biggest danger ever, Matthew. Look, if we win the Europa League, it's a big thing. Okay, Krishna, welcome to the Members Club. I think we did that. Fans wanting Rashford out and Lookman in. Gee, says Robert. But there is a financial cost there, Robert, I think. And there's 5 reasons people don't want Rashford, mate. It's not as simple as, is Rashford better than Lookman? Yes. But the 5 reasons I said at the start, you can't just be that, blasé about it. It's not about looking at one player compared to another. It's about the baggage and the reasons and the media and the fans and the cost and the manager fallout, etc. Some words of confidence for tomorrow's game, says Dunny. We're going to win. Check out the preview. Onana and Bienda are different keepers and they have learnt to play with him, says Shaitan. Who have they learnt to play with? Onana and Bienda are a different keeper and they have learnt to play with him. Well, and on that words of wisdom, we'll leave it there. Then is what I mean about bad purchasing. Give Rashford a huge contract and then backtrack their choice to only get a small portion. 1 more season, says Slow Sports News. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. We are back with Amorim's press conference at lunchtime. We'll see you then. 7 o'clock show tonight on the United Stand because I'm doing Real Madrid against Arsenal. Hopefully we get a good European tie tonight. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Fantastic show this morning. 76% of you don't want Marcus Rashford back. 24% of you do. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care. Any news on Johnny Evans? Still injured, Stretford Ender. Long injury, isn't it?